Hello everyone, my name is Natasha Trzynski and I am the Primary Prevention Specialist at Safe Berks. In today's presentation, we're going to be discussing the importance of teaching consent at an early age. Late childhood and early adolescence is a time when children get messages about relationships and consent from things like TV shows, movies, social media, and even friends. This makes it an ideal time for parents to have conversations about consent. Talking with your child now will encourage open and honest communication as they mature and enter their first relationships. What is consent? Consent means asking someone for their permission to do something and accepting their answer. As a child, this could show up when kids ask peers if they want to play, if they want to sit together on the bus, if they'd like to share school supplies or their toys or even their food. Helping kids to ask for consent and accept rejection in these everyday ways builds a foundation for practicing consent in intimate relationships as they get older. As parents, it is important to be having conversations about consent, and many of you may be thinking, how? For starters, you need to be talking openly with your children. I want you to take a moment and ask yourself, what message is my child getting about relationships and consent? They might be getting these messages from friends, peers, or maybe even from the back of the bus conversations. They could be getting it from YouTube or social media, or even TV shows. Then I want you to think about, what messages do I want them to get? I bet those messages differ. If we want our children to be getting certain messages about relationships and consent, we need to be the one talking to them about those messages. Let your child know they can come to you with questions about consent and relationships. When they do come to you, be sure to answer their questions honestly and encourage ongoing conversations about respect and safety. For example, you could tell your child, everyone's body deserves respect. Or, if someone hurts us, it's okay to talk about it. You can teach the respect of boundaries. Teaching children about body boundaries, both theirs and others, is crucial to a child's growing sense of self, their confidence, and how they should expect to be treated by others. A child growing up knowing they have a right to their own personal space gives that child ownership and choices as to what happens to them and to their body. It is equally important a child understands from a very young age they need to respect other person's body boundaries and ask for their consent when entering another person's personal space. Boundaries are a person's right to choose what is comfortable for them. For example, it sounds like your friend didn't want to sit beside you on the bus today. Sometimes you don't want to sit beside me, and that's okay. Everybody gets a choice about what's comfortable for them. We should also know how to ask for consent. Help your child to think about how their actions might affect another person or how they might make another person feel. If they don't know how it might make another person feel, they need to be asking questions. Everyone has different boundaries, and no one should ever feel pressured to do something that they're not comfortable with. We should also be a model for asking for consent. Show your child ways to ask for consent by modeling the words and actions yourself. Model respect for boundaries by asking your child for consent and accepting their answer, like when asking for a hug or sharing information about them with others. Use teachable moments to talk about consent and respect. For example, I could tell your guidance counselor that grandma died if that's okay with you. Or, it's okay if you don't want to give a goodnight hug. Consent is a healthy, normal, and necessary part of everyday interactions. I would like to take this time to talk a little bit more about everyday consent. We should ask for consent when touching, even as parents. It's important to ask for consent before hugging, tickling, or other kinds of touch. We should ask sincerely so others understand it's okay to say no. For people who have experienced sexual abuse, any unexpected touch can be scary and even traumatic. And some may just prefer more personal space. So for example, you might say, "Is it okay if I walk with you?" Or, "Do you want to hug or wave goodbye?" We always need to respect privacy. Everyone has boundaries. Some people like to keep things about themselves private, while others are a little bit more open. If someone shares personal information with you, it's important to ask what their boundaries are. So for example, you might say, "My cousin was assaulted and is afraid they will never feel okay again. Is it okay if I tell them that you're a survivor too?" It's all right if you're not comfortable with that. We need to make sure we're asking for permission. Just like everyone has different boundaries about touch, everyone has different levels of comfort about sharing things online, like photos. It is important to always ask before posting or tagging photos of someone on social media. For example, you might say, "This is a great photo of all of us. Is it okay if I share it online? Or should I take another one without the kids? I know you don't post all the photos of them often." And we need to know how to handle the no. Whenever you're asking for someone's consent, they could say no. Accept the answer and move on. Don't pressure someone to change their mind. It's okay to feel disappointed when you hear the word no, but always remember that respecting boundaries is the right thing to do. A great tool to use to talk about consent with your children are books. All listed below are books about consent. They are age appropriate and at different developmental levels for children. Some have great discussion questions at the back of the book to talk to your children about consent. C is for Consent by Eleanor Morrison. Hugopotamus by Steve Metzger. Let's Talk About Body, Boundaries, Consent, and Respect by Janine Sanders. Hands Off Harry by Rosemary Wells. Catch some of these books being read by your community educators during Storytime the month of April. On the next slide, I'm going to play a video on consent for kids. This is a great tool to use to start the conversation with your children. I will leave the link to the video on the Safe Burks Facebook page right below in the comments of this video for easy access to watch with your own children.
Consent for kids. This is you. Okay, it doesn't look exactly like you, but let's say it's you. This is your body, and you get to decide what you do with your body. No one else is entitled to tell you what to do with your body. Not your friends, not strangers, not adults you know. No one is entitled to decide what you do with your body, except you. That's called bodily autonomy, by the way. And that's what consent is all about. Everyone is different. Some people love to hug, and some people hate hugs. And each person gets to decide what they're comfortable with. Can a hug-loving person just start hugging someone at random? Nope. They need consent. How do people know if they have consent? They ask. Would you like a hug?
Yes, I would. Can I hold your hand?
I'd rather not.
Okay.
If a person doesn't say yes,
Can I hug you?
then they haven't given their consent. It's really pretty simple. Ask for consent, listen to the answer. By the way, if a person bribes someone or threatens someone to say yes, that's not consent. Sometimes adults will try to tell a kid what to do with their body.
Go kiss Aunt Doris goodbye.
But the kid still gets to decide. No thanks, that makes me uncomfortable. I'll just wave goodbye. Some things kids can't consent to. They can't enter into legal contracts. They can't vote. And they can't consent to sexual stuff. 'Cause they're kids. So if an adult does something that kids can't consent to, that's not okay. The adult is wrong, and it's not the kid's fault. And that's when it's most important to tell a trusted adult, like a teacher. Why? Because it's your body, and no one else is entitled to tell you what to do with it. Practice consent.
April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Sexual Assault Awareness Month is a campaign to raise public awareness about sexual violence and educates communities on how to prevent sexual assault. The campaign theme this year, I Ask, the message that asking for consent is a healthy, normal, and necessary part of everyday interactions. For more information and resources, you can visit nsvrc.org/SAM or pcar.org/consent. And PCAR's new site for parents and educators, safesecurekids.org. Here you can find more videos, activities, and information on consent for parents. At Safe Berks, we work with schools, community organizations, and workplaces to help people learn how to practice consent in their everyday lives. We offer a variety of prevention programming that teaches people about healthy relationships, communication, respecting boundaries, and other skills to create a safer community for everyone. If you or someone you know is a victim or survivor of sexual assault, know that you are not alone, and Safe Berks is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can call our toll-free hotline at 844-789-SAFE. Our hotline is available in both English and Spanish. You can text Safe Berks to 20121. All services are free and confidential. If you would like to see a full menu of Safe Berks education and outreach presentations or the school curriculum, you can go to safeberks.org and click on the Education tab. Thanks for tuning in on how to teach consent early. Feel free to leave questions below on this post, and I will be sure to check back and answer any questions you may have. Tomorrow night is Storytime with community educator Michelle Knoll. Spanish Storytime will be this Friday with bilingual community educator Delio Santana. Stay safe, everyone.